I'll abuse my prerogative as chair to also share with you the results of the survey we took. And frankly, I find this alarming, but it kind of confirms my priors. So we may be engaged in some groupthink here. On importance, people in this group are really in agreement. The overall score, where 1 is not important at all and 5 is extremely important, is 4.48. And the largest single number of responses, 55 of you thought it scored a 5. So we all agree it's really important. The definitions are a little harder to aggregate, of course. They don't lend themselves to that kind of quantitative thing. But in terms of who are the, only 4 people said they had no idea what country ownership was, or they did not respond. And who are the owners, that is the ones who actually are going to own the thing, countries, national government, civil society, people, citizens. There seems to be pretty strong agreement on that. As to the thing that's getting owned, also some agreement. Implementation, 19 people. Programs, 17. Development, responsible funding. The thing that I find perhaps disturbing, because I like things to be somewhat concrete in analysis, is 19 of you couldn't think of a single thing, observable characteristic that would let you know when this was happening. So I would wonder, if we can't come up with an observable characteristic, is it really worth, talking about? There were 41 responses and 17 input indicators. Only 5 suggested something that could be quantified. 12 dealt with alignment. Finally, and here's why I say it's a little alarming. I'd be very alarmed if I was in the U.S. government, given that people think it's very important, they're confused about what it is, and they don't know what it is that when they saw it, they would know it was happening. But their grade for the government, I'm afraid, is not very good. So the average grade for that is a 2.51, which comes out to about, it says C minus here, but that sounds like maybe C plus to me, right? David? Comes out to a C minus. Okay, a 2.51. So, okay. So I don't know if there are any views about that, but if I were in the government, I'd be worried about pushing country ownership, where people think it's really important, but they have no idea what it would look like other than some definitions. Are there any views about that?
I can say, if I speak on behalf of all of my colleagues, but they can also add, it's front and center as a priority that OGAC, USAID, CDC is working on. We live in an environment, to talk with candor, that our policy agendas get put out and we're always scrambling to figure out what they mean and what they measure. And that's great. I mean, it's good because it's the advocacy community is pushing the U.S. government to move in productive ways, challenging. I think that's one of the great things about our society, is that we do have that, and that brings that accountability. So I'll just say that it's a huge priority. We've got a lot of different working groups on it. We're thrilled that CDG put this talk together today, because it's also a way to get it out front and get the dialogue moving further.
I think in some ways there's almost some comfort that there isn't a preconceived notion of what the U.S. government means by country ownership, because I think we would be missing the mark entirely if we tried to predefine it or preordain it. And there actually is a process within the world of PEPFAR that's just getting underway that Ambassador Gooseby will tee up in Vienna next month at the International Aid Society meeting, where we bring together, responsive to some of the points that were made from the researchers from country, not just government officials, but also people representing the private sector and civil society, to begin a robust conversation about what is our shared definition and vision for country ownership moving forward, because it's not going to be achieved if Washington defines it.
I want to open the floor to questions. Nandini, did you have any remarks before we do that?
I think to defend our USG colleagues, who I think are doing a remarkable job trying to make this happen, I think in all fairness we can say that it is a time now that, like the minister said, we do need to work with candor and honesty to figure out how to make this happen, so that 5 years down the line we can actually say that this was a principle worth applying. So I think the score is just in a way to say that we're at a point where we can actually take the opportunity. And I think the Global Health Initiative plus countries serve as a learning lab for many, many different outcomes, including this. And, one can debate whether this is an outcome or a process. But I do think that it's only positive to have a poor grade so that you can work towards a better one.